From our Chicago studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Samana, Siddiqui. Our top story tonight. A federal judge in Northern California has dismissed a lawsuit against President Joe Biden, but made a strong plea for a rethink on policy related to Israel. U.S. District Judge Jeffrey White dismissed the lawsuit, but described the evidence of Israel's aggression against Palestinians presented before the court as gut-wrenching. Nonetheless, the judge called on President Biden to reconsider U.S. support for Israel's actions in Gaza, citing concerns about possible genocide. The lawsuit accused Biden, Secretary of State Antony Blinken, and Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin of being complicit in genocide under an international treaty. It sought to force the government to halt Israeli attacks and support a ceasefire, which the U.S. has vetoed 3 times at the UN Security Council. Judge White referred to the recent ruling of the International Court of Justice against Israel, in which the accusation of genocide was described as plausible, and Israel was called upon to cease its attacks on the Palestinians in Gaza. Currently, the U.S. also provides $3.8 billion annually in military aid to Israel, with Biden seeking congressional approval for an additional $14 billion. The Palestinian Health Ministry reports that 118 Palestinians have been killed and 190 others injured in Gaza in the last 24 hours. That brings the total number killed by Israel since October 7th to 27,019. The revised death toll in Israel since then from Hamas attacks stands at 1,139. The Israeli military's intensified operations in Khan Yunis have raised serious concerns as they target hospitals. Israel claims these facilities are being used as bases for Hamas resistance. Al-Amal Hospital in Khan Yunis has been raided multiple times. A 75-year-old woman and a 45-day-old baby girl are reported to have died due to a shortage of oxygen at the same hospital. Meanwhile, over 30,000 displaced individuals near Nasser Hospital, which is also in Khan Yunis, are grappling with dire conditions. That includes a lack of access to water, food, and baby supplies. Alarming statistics reveal that children in southern Gaza have access to only 2% or less of the recommended daily water consumption, according to World Health Organization standards. As well, following tactical withdrawals by the Israeli military from Gaza City, ambulance crews and civilians report that they have discovered the bodies of approximately 14 Palestinians. In related news, the Palestinian Red Crescent Society says Israeli forces are directing its staff to vacate headquarters in Al-Amal Hospital in southern Gaza. On Tuesday, the Israeli army raided its office. It has also directed the hospital staff and doctors to leave. Palestinian health authorities have repeatedly accused the Israeli army of targeting hospitals and ambulances. The Palestinian Prisoner Society alleges that the Israeli army has executed 30 Palestinians in Gaza. The bodies, handcuffed and blindfolded, were discovered in a school in Beit Lahia, northern Gaza. The NGO claims that these Palestinians were detained by Israeli forces before their deaths, describing it as a field execution. Israel has not provided information regarding the fate of Palestinians held by its forces in Gaza, raising concerns. The Palestinian Foreign Ministry has called for an international investigation into these alleged massacres. Hamas has also called for documenting these executions and holding Israel accountable. The Israeli army has not yet responded to the accusations. Arms industry researcher William Hartung has condemned the State Department for boasting about record-breaking arms sales. It recently announced $80.9 billion in defense articles and services sales for fiscal year 2023. The department emphasized that this is the highest annual total of sales and assistance. The surge has boosted profits for top U.S. defense contractors. Hartung, who is a senior fellow at the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft, called the celebration tone-deaf, given concerns about Israel's use of U.S. arms and atrocities committed in Gaza. Democratic lawmakers, including Senator Bernie Sanders, questioned the rationale behind expedited arms sales to Israel, particularly artillery shells. These have been described as inherently indiscriminate in attacks on densely populated areas. Amnesty International and other human rights groups have called for an arms embargo on Israel. Hartung suggested that withholding further transfers to Israel could be used as leverage for a ceasefire in Gaza. He also criticized the Biden administration for circumventing congressional notification requirements regarding arms transfers. Hartung urged the administration to prioritize the human consequences and risks associated with unrestricted arms exports by U.S. allies. Palestinian teen makes puppets to help children in Gaza. Details after the break, so stay tuned and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Braving Israeli airstrikes that have brought death and destruction all over Gaza, a Palestinian teen has been producing puppet dolls by carving waste materials he finds. Yusuf Al-Hindi says he aims to bring a smile to the faces of children whose psychology has been affected by war through these dolls. He told Anadolu news agency that his idea is to make children happy, which keeps him making dolls, even if he does not have the necessary materials.
موهبتي وإرادتي وفكرتي في إسعاد الأطفال خلتني إنه أستمر في طريق صناعة الدمى. حتى لو مش متوفر المواد حاولت إن أصنع المواد بأبسط الإمكانيات، مواد اللي ممكن تساعدني ولو بالقليل. بحاول حاليا أنتج دمية. الدمية هذه تكون قادرة على إرسال رسائل للعالم، تكون قادرة على إسعاد الأطفال في مخيمات النزوح بشكل كبير.
Two women have alleged that President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign staff prevented them from attending a campaign event because they were wearing hijabs. A viral video shared on social media captured the incident where campaign staffers denied them entry while allowing others in. The women accused the staff of resorting to Islamophobia and racism. They questioned if they were singled out due to their hijabs. The group Nevadans for Palestinian Liberation, which shared the video of the event through its account on X, accused the campaign of deliberately excluding Muslim attendees. In response, a campaign spokesperson stated that the women were barred because they had previously disrupted democratic events. The Council on American Islamic Relations called for a probe into whether the women were targeted because of their Muslim identity. It is also urging Vice President Harris, who was present at the event, to address the matter. The U.S. Eighth Circuit Court of Appeals has declined to rehear a previous decision that may restrict private organizations' ability to file lawsuits under the Voting Rights Act. The case began in 2021 when the American Civil Liberties Union and the Arkansas Public Policy Panel sued the Arkansas Board of Apportionment. This was for allegedly being involved in racial gerrymandering and redistricting. The following year, the district court ruled in favor of the board. The plaintiffs appealed the decision, and last year, a limited Eighth Circuit panel upheld the decision. With the latest development denying a rehearing, the case could set a precedent that would limit such lawsuits. This ruling coincides with a growing number of controversies over racial gerrymandering in the run-up to the 2024 elections. Experts say this could have implications for voting rights across the country, which is already happening. In North Carolina, several black voters have filed a lawsuit against the state legislature. They claim the state's newly released redistricting maps have violated their rights. And last month, U.S. District Judge Peter Welt ordered the creation of a new joint North Dakota legislative district for two Native American tribes. A new study reveals that over 33 million Instagram and TikTok posts promote harmful content aimed at children. The study built on previous research from 2021 and 2023, focusing on TikTok and Meta-owned Instagram. It examined posts related to body image issues, skin whitening, mental health problems, incel, and misogynistic content. The investigation found alarming statistics. These include a 33% increase in suicide-related posts, a 161% increase in incel content, and millions of posts on eating disorders, plastic surgeries, and skin whitening. The report also criticized social media giants for earning $11 billion in U.S. ad revenue targeted at minors. The document was compiled by ECO, a nonprofit group keeping watch on the growing power of corporations. The release of the report coincided with a U.S. Senate panel hearing on online child sexual exploitation, featuring testimonies from 5 big tech CEOs. During the hearing, ECO's findings underscored the need for action to protect children online and reignite discussions about legislation concerning big tech's practices, advertising, and privacy. ECO argues that social media companies not only fail to protect young users, but profit from their harm. It urgently called for legislative action and addressed the Senate panel, urging constituents to contact their Congress members. The U.S. has blamed an Islamic Resistance Alliance in Iraq, an umbrella organization of various Iranian-backed militias, for the suicide drone attack on its soldiers in Jordan. That claimed the lives of 3 American soldiers. National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby said U.S. intelligence has determined the involvement of the alliance in Iraq in planning and executing the attack. While he stopped short of clearly blaming any particular militia in the alliance, he said the attack certainly has the marks of the types of attacks conducted by Kataib Hezbollah. It is one of the main groups that comprise the Islamic resistance in Iraq. This incident marks the first fatal attack resulting from ongoing drone and missile attacks by Iranian-backed militias against U.S. forces in the region. President Joe Biden says that he has determined a response but has not disclosed the details. Iran has vowed decisive action if its interests are threatened. Authorities in the Indian capital, New Delhi, have demolished a centuries-old mosque along with an attached Muslim school without prior notice or warning. The mosque committee expressed shock and dismay as police and civil officials arrived early Tuesday to carry out the demolition. The demolished structure included a nearby makeshift Hindu temple. The mosque's management was taken by surprise and said that more than 20 orphan students lost their belongings, including copies of the Quran and laptops. The mosque, also known as Jinnat Wali Masjid or Dargah Ahunji, is believed to have been constructed in the 13th century. The government-run Waqf Board committee argued that the demolition occurred despite a pending court case regarding land ownership. Authorities from the Delhi Development Authority insist the land belongs to them. The UN in Somalia and humanitarian organizations have called for $1.6 billion to assist more than 5 million Somalis in dire need of humanitarian aid and protection this year. This represents a 37% decrease from the $2.6 billion needed in 2023 to support over 7 million people. UN Deputy Special Representative George Conway emphasized the ongoing challenges of climactic shocks, conflict, insecurity, poverty, and disease outbreaks in Somalia. Despite some improvements since 2023, more than 4 million people remain acutely food insecure, and 2 in 5 young children suffer from malnutrition. Additionally, over 3 million people are internally displaced, and a cholera outbreak is spreading. The humanitarian response will prioritize the most vulnerable populations with a focus on women and children. That's all from our Chicago studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Salam and good night.